Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of the AgriCapitalist Podcast, where we talk about hidden treasures in plain sight. As it is my tradition, I want to first and foremost appreciate everyone that have been watching, that have been with us all through this period, all through the journey. You've been amazing, and I pray God bless you. I pray God keeps increasing you. I pray you keep growing from strength to strength. May you never see loss. May you keep ascending positively. God bless you. Yeah, today's episode will be talking about the rise of farm-landlords in Nigeria. It is actually from my book, The Ground Beneath Your Hustle. It's a promise I made to someone that I would share it via this podcast, and that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to read through it. I hope you find value. Yeah, if you have the book with you, it is chapter 5. It's in chapter 5, the rise of farm-landlords in Nigeria. So I will do a bit of reading. I think I will read it, then I will do a bit of commentary just to help to better understand the message I'm trying to pass. Yeah, so let's go. Something is shifting in the heart of Nigeria, not in the stock market, not on the political stage, but in the soil. A new investment trend is gaining momentum: farmland banking. Let me hold. We are used to an investment activity in the real estate sector. It has been overly emphasized. It is called land banking, where instead of putting your money in the bank, you are banking your money in land. Yeah, because land is the only asset you would have that doesn't lose value. I hope you know that your money is an asset, but then your money loses value with time because of inflation, which we've talked about in episode 8, I think. Yeah, so your money loses value with time. It's not risk adjusted. I use that word in chapter 8. It's not risk adjusted. It is volatile, same as everything else, most things actually. Yeah, but land is the asset that you have that doesn't lose value in the midst of inflation, in the midst of global pressure, in the midst of a lot of things. It stands strong. Yeah, it is the foundation for great manifestations. Yeah, so back to what I was saying. We are used to land banking, but farmland banking is more like a sequel to that practice. Instead of just buying land and holding it down, that will not give you immediate returns, while you are waiting for it to grow value to the point where you can sell it. Yeah, farmland banking is actually owning fertile lands that will actually provide value for you in the meantime, and at the same time provide value for you through the land value appreciating over time. If you want to resell later and all of those things, I wouldn't advise you reselling, but then if you want to do that. So back to the chapter. The act of buying, so I'm explaining farmland banking. The act of buying arable land for the purpose of cultivation to generate returns. It is a step forward after land acquisition to actually unlock the values therein. This set of investors, the farm-landlords, have realized that land is not just a property for keep. Land is life, and that is true. Land is life. Land has the capacity to feed generations to come. Yeah, no other investment class can do that, except it's a business. Yeah, it's a business that is thriving. It's an evergreen business. Yeah, it has the capacity to feed generations. Yeah, but what is more evergreen than having land and building a business on land from the derivatives of land? There's nothing more evergreen than that. Let me use that word. Yeah. So back to what I was saying, because everything that sustains life, sorry, the lighting is making the thing block. Because everything that sustains life originates from it. Land is eco-friendly and self-sustaining. It holds the treasure we seek. While conversations about wealth still over around tech startups, crypto, and side hustles, a new class of wealth builders is emerging under the radar. I hope that is you. They don't make headlines, they rarely announce it on Instagram, but they are quietly securing generational wealth 1 acre at a time through the concept of farmland banking. Yes, so as I was saying, I've said this in numerous episodes. As a professional, this is to you. This paragraph I just read is to you. While you are earning, engage in the act of buying farmlands, investing in farmlands. Bank your money in farmlands and thank me later. Yeah, and don't just leave it fallow, please. Don't leave it fallow, because you are not doing any good. You are actually not doing any good. Engage in agriculture, indirectly or directly. Indirectly means through the help of others. I talked about this in chapter 4, in episode 4, where I talked about the power of collaboration. Yeah, so it is not impossible now again. It is possible, very possible. So you can do it. There is nothing stopping you. Yeah, so back to the chapter 5 of the book, The Ground Beneath You Also. It's a movement led by engineers in Lagos buying land in Ondo, teachers in Asaba investing in cassava farms in Kwale, the nurse in Port Harcourt who pulled our salary with 2 colleagues. Yeah, this is what I was trying to say in chapter 4, in episode 4. I keep going between chapter and episode. Please don't be misled. In episode 4, where I talked about the power of collaboration, and I think episode 7 as well, the sequel episode to that chapter 4, to that episode 4. Yes, so the nurse in Port Harcourt who put our salary with 2 colleagues to acquire hectares of land in Ahoda for plantation. Bankers in Abuja leasing hectares in Nasarawa for rice production. These professionals have realized that land is not just a property to be built on. It is an engine of wealth, a multiplier of time, and a timeless edge against economic chaos. They are Farmland-Lords, a rising tribe of visionaries who don't just save for the future, they plant it. Because while the rest of the world is chasing the next viral trend or crypto high, they are digging deeper into the ground and into a kind of wealth that speaks louder in silence than most fortune screams in public. Wow, victory. I actually said this. Okay. Why this matter more than ever? In a country where over 133 million people live in multidimensional poverty and food inflation soars unchecked, we don't need more social media posting, we don't need more forest signals, we need more farmland-lords. They take care of the food we eat and possess the power of transforming the Nigerian economic landscape through manufacturing of our raw produce, which are often exported outside for pennies. Farmland is no longer just a rural necessity, it is a strategic power play in the contemporary Nigerian society. Farmland banking is an investment practice that wouldn't just provide substantial return for the investor. Wide practice of such activity will immensely increase our GDP. Here is where I come in again. Brothers and sisters, one of the problems we have, one of the reasons why inflation is frustrating us, is because we are actually producing nothing in comparison to what we are importing. We are actually exporting very little in comparison to what we import. We depend on what is coming from outside for our survival, and that should change. That way, the fact that we are depending on what is coming from outside, so we keep importing them, our GDP is being reduced because we are not producing much, except for our oil. We are producing very little, so our GDP is below, and we are actually earning very little. Inflation is frustrating us. You see how these things, they snowball. But if we should engage in farmland investing massively, collectively, individually in our various localities, we would actually improve our GDP, because then we start producing what we consume and eventually start building businesses from these ventures, from this farmland investing into agribusinesses, and then we start exporting. You see, our GDP is then increased. Yes, so that is the value farmland investing has to offer. AgriCapitalism have to offer. The greatest resource we have as a people is not our oil at all. Oil is, we all know the story, it's actually it's fast becoming outdated, because of this renewable energy, save the planet and all of those things. So if you are banking on oil, my brothers and sisters, just check your timing. It's just a matter of time. You'll soon be out of business. The greatest resource we have as a people is our land. It's our land. Even the oil is gotten from the land. You can imagine. Our land. This book is actually to promote farmland investing and agriculture as it is. But then let me just say this. Our greatest resource we have as a people is our land and our mind. So let me just add that. It wasn't included in the book. I might have skipped that. So our land and our minds. While an oil well can make you money now and dry out, a well-nurtured land will make you money now and keep producing across generations. Do you understand? Yeah. So a follow-up paragraph says you should know this. It is simple economics. The world eats every day. Over 8.2 billion people eat every day. And it doesn't just stop there. Most of our essential products are derived from agriculture. Yet with over 70 million hectares of arable land, Nigeria is still dominated by import-led fertilized products. Yeah, I've said that already, so I wouldn't want to add to that. However, in Nigeria, food insecurity isn't just a national crisis. It is a gold mine in the hands of the prepared. The truth has been buried under years of miseducation, short-term thinking, and copy-paste economic models. If we don't understand this, others will. That is why foreign companies would come to negotiate long-term leases for our land while we chase temporary jobs. That is why governments sign off thousands of hectares to outsiders who will make it dry and leave dust behind while we scream exploitation. Please, just a bit of a disclaimer. This is not to run down on anybody. It is just me saying the fact. Please. This is not to run down on anybody. Please. You see, governments understand the value of land, but are incapable of maintaining a sustainable business operation like the private sector because of the frequent change in government administration. That is why they hand it to those who can exploit, while we ignore our chances to cultivate and produce. It is a dangerous bargain and a temporary fix for a broken economy. Unlike stocks that swing and cash that burns in the fire of inflation, land doesn't just hold value, it grows it, and that is true. When tied to agriculture, it multiplies, it feeds families, it creates jobs, and it empowers nations. That is true. And what if we change the narrative in Nigeria? What if instead of shared apathy and gross negligence on the utilization of our land and resources, what if we use it in a joint commitment to harnessing the treasures embedded in the ground beneath our hustle as a means to feed our people, anchor our dreams, and power industries that will deliver real value to real people? That way we get to reclaim power of a broken system and foster a stronger and better Nigeria together. Yeah. A new wave in Nigeria's real estate industry. In recent times, a growing number of forward-thinking investors are turning to agricultural real estate as a hedge against declining performance of traditional real estate investments during period of financial and economic downturn as we are experiencing in Nigeria currently. In the contemporary Nigerian society, we must realize that our land is our last economic hope, not for hoarding, not for building mansions that stay locked and empty across cities, not for monuments of wealth, but as the foundation for productivity, value creation, and national revival. The concept of the Farmland-Lord is a sequel practice. I think I have talked about that before. Sequel practice which complements that of traditional landowners who hold vacant land without any immediate returns. As earlier stated, farmland-lords own and cultivate their land for food production, manufacturing opportunities, and long-term investment growth, as this model of real estate investing promises the following but not limited to. So this is the what it promises to the investor: land appreciation, which I have talked about, revenue from profitable farming, revenue from leasing or renting. That is, if you as an investor invest in farmland, you can lease the land if you don't want to engage in farming yourself. But I would say engage in farming yourself, because there is more to it than meets the eye. Food distribution and supplies, a chance to actually control your own food supply. I didn't add that, but let me just say. Revenue from manufacturing of agro-raw materials. Farmland is a rare sector that benefits from growing demand in the face of shrinking supply. Farmland doesn't crash overnight. It doesn't vanish when apps go out of style. It produces in season and out of season. Let's break it down. Land produces even when you sleep. While some investment depend on algorithm or market trend, a well-managed farm runs like nation's version of passive income. From maize that mature between 3 to 4 months to palm oil palm that keep yielding for 30 years. Farmland turns time into food and food into money. It is the closest thing we have to a self-replicating asset. Secondly, people eat every day, and that is your market security. Agriculture is built on the most consistent human habit, hunger. In Nigeria alone, we are over 200 million stomach deep and counting. From ogbono to onions, garri to goat meat, your farmland is not selling a trend, it is meeting a need. Number 3, you don't need to be a farmer to own a farm. This is where most people miss the point. Being a farm landlord doesn't mean you must wake up by 5 to weed or fight off goats. I think, this is where I talked about outsourcing it to. But please go into farming yourself, brothers and sisters. Let's skip this part. So I think there is, in this number 3, I talked about having a plantation instead. For those of us that wouldn't want to just go through the hustle of doing it on a regular basis, planting short-term crops. Let me just state it. There is even the idea of planting 3 crops. Having a plantation that won't need your constant working, but would keep earning money for 30 plus years or more. Fourthly, number 4, inflation proof and currency resistant. Your 100,000 naira in the bank today can't buy what it could last year, but a plot of land, it appreciates in value, in yield, and in influence. Even when currency falls, food rises. In tough times, a man with a bag of tomatoes can feed a neighborhood, but a man with a bag of tomatoes and a land can feed, sell, negotiate, and thrive, and that is true. The difference between land ownership and land productivity. There is a single truth that most real estate advisors seems to skip in their presentation. Land ownership is the foundation for wealth creation, but productive land use in the area of exploiting the treasures therein is the foundation for sustainable legacies and improved economic vitality through industries. Owning land is important, no doubt, but ownership alone is not entirely power. The whole idea of this book is to create the consciousness of the productive use of our resources, which are embedded in land for wealth creation and economic revitalization. We don't need more landowners who hoard. We need land stewards who would unearth the values embedded in the ground beneath our hustle. For most of us, owning land is seen as the end game. And that this is something we should stop doing. We just buy land, we register a title deed and a survey plan, we celebrate about it, and then it is forgotten. That should stop. Here is the missed point. The man who owns 5 hectares and do nothing with it will one day be at the mercy of the man who turns his land into a food generating machine. That is true. The land that feeds people, generates jobs, pay bills, and keep producing, that is the land with true power. Governments reward the man who decides to use his land productively with grants. Banks give them loan. NGOs give them access to local and foreign partnerships, while the rest just stand. The ones that are doing nothing with their land, they just stand behind gates, washing weeds, take over their investments. While young Nigerian professionals have now been enlightened on the value of land, we must switch from passive possession to active productivity. Because in a country like Nigeria with over 70 million hectares of arable land and over 100 million people in poverty, leaving land unproductive is not just irresponsible, it is dangerous. Farmland is not just wealth, it is power. Owning land, especially farmland, makes you more than just an investor. It gives you leverage in your local community. You become a producer, not just a consumer. In fact, while others are fighting over who can rent the next duplex in the city, you will be creating value on the outskirts. It's not just about money. When you own farmland and use it wisely, you are contributing to food security, climate sustainability, and job creation. Your land becomes a living legacy, something your children won't just inherit, but expand. It grows wealth, feeds families, empowers economies, and connects you to something ancient and real. The power to plant, harvest, and prosper from the ground up. Unlike gadgets or cars, farmland appreciates across generations, and the tree you plant today may outlive you and feed your great-grandchildren. Something to consider. Nigeria's population is set to reach over 400 million people before 2050, and food demand is expected to double by the same time. During cycles of economic recession, the most acclaimed residential and commercial properties still face a major hit as these properties become highly marginalized. Let money dry up for a moment, and this is just me being funny. Let money dry up for a moment and watch how fast even the fanciest buildings start begging for tenants. Because when survival kicks, nobody is hustling to pay premium rent. That is true actually. The time to invest in farmland is now. Government and private investors are beginning to recognize farmland banking as the ultimate solution to Nigeria's economy and food insecurity, while still offering high returns to investors. According to research conducted, agriculture contributes only 25.18% of Nigeria's GDP in 2023, while food inflation increased by 35%. This is a clear indicator that we all need to commit to active land stewardship in harnessing the treasures in agriculture throughout the value chain. While major real estate investors focus on commercial and luxury property investment, the Nigerian hustler should exploit this greatly untapped sector and reap its benefits before it becomes saturated. So we will have to end here because it's quite a long, very lengthy chapter. If you haven't gotten the book yet, I urge you to go look for the book. It's a mind blower. It is something that is going to change the way you see things. It's going to help you in actually understanding the essence of this very podcast, the AgriCapitalist Podcast. And if you are new here, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'll keep sharing videos, I'll keep sharing ideas, I'll keep sharing thoughts I think would be beneficial to you. God bless, stay blessed, and do something impactful.